business and organization as more trustworthy, and you're focusing on more than just self-promotion, which is truly kind of what the core of social media marketing is versus traditional marketing. So when sharing other people's content in Edgar, you'll want to follow the same rules as when you're sharing your own content. So let's hop right in and chat a little bit about how you can accomplish this. Means like the majority of your content in Edgar, you're going to be wanting to share evergreen posts of other people's content. So when you're looking for other people's content to share, think of the titles that make sense to go out at any time of year and what these titles will offer to your audience, regardless of when they see the article. So looking at the headlines over on the left versus those on the right on your screen right now, you can see how these start to make sense if they were shared over and over. And when these articles are shared, when these headlines pop up on people's news feeds, they make a ton of sense that the value they're adding to their feed is going to be something that is really relevant to them no matter what time of year it's sent out versus the ones on the right over here. And remember that headlines are one of the most powerful tools on social media. Often people will glance at a headline in order to determine if they want to share it onto their own page without really ever reading the whole article. So when thinking about what type of content to add to Edgar and when to find this content and from what sources, really search for the headlines that stand out immediately and the ones that you're really attracted to. And this will likely also attract your followers to those headlines. Adding these types of posts to your Edgar library isn't only going to save you time, but it's also going to be really beneficial to you because it's going to be demonstrating your expertise and offering your readers something valuable. Other people's content can also help supplement the information you've created on your blog and really help provide multiple viewpoints on an issue relevant to your audience. So looking at those posts over on the right here, you notice that if these were sent at any time of year, not going to be anything relevant to really help boost your audience's knowledge within your industry versus ones on the left that will. Thing that we really want to drive home when you're adding other people's content to Edgar. So next, another thing that's really an added benefit is that you're really providing this great information for your followers, is that you're picking this quality content that's going to increase shares from your own social account. So even if they're not sharing content you created, you can still get your name out there in your followers' personal networks, which is truly one of the biggest brand awareness things that social media has to offer. So again, thinking about the headlines that they want to be able to share, it's going to be something that's personal to them. They're going to say, hey, this headline says a lot about who I am and what I value. Let me share this to my page, which then opens up their entire network to be able to know about your name, about those articles that's really adding value. Last but certainly not least, sharing other people's content is really helpful when you're building relationships in your industry. So influencers are huge on social media today. Big names in your industry are just as recognizable to your followers as they are to you. So when you're following and you see a trusted influencer's name on your feed, this is going to not only increase the trust that they have in your brand, but it's also going to really position you as an industry expert in your field. So when you're adding these updates into your library, it doesn't have to take a ton of time. You can keep it simple, and you can search for content that's relevant to your followers. Simple status update that we have shared on our own Facebook and Twitter accounts. So we know a ton of our community here at Edgar write their own blogs and are content creators, and writing tips are really relevant and helpful to our community. So right there, people know right away that we're sharing something that's helpful to them, and we're building this trust and goodwill in our community. This particular post, you can see that it kind of follows the rules of don't just hit share and kind of randomly sending out a link. We're also adding that little bit of, hey, here's some writing tips that's going to help you, introducing the article, and really making sure we're creating that connection to give people content that's going to be helpful for them. Idea that when we add this line, and key takeaway is saying that, hey, we read this and we found this really, really helpful, you will also. And this helps as you're showing content on social media, that you're providing this kind of as a filter to people with all the noise that's out there. If you're adding some context to the information that you're sharing, it can help people really understand what's going on in your industry so much better, which again helps just position you as a top knowledge and top industry person in your niche. You don't have to say anything about the article. If you don't have anything that really stands out, no problem at all. Another great strategy to take here is to ask for your reader's opinion about it. This will really encourage them to click through and get the great knowledge that's in that link. And asking questions is also an awesome way to help increase engagement within your social network pages. And if you want to go a bit further, you can even get ideas like picking a quote out from the content to share and really pique the interest and highlight why you think it's a good read. So if you're sharing that content that's consistently good, you'll become such a trusted source of information. And when you do share your own content, then it'll be seen as it's coming from an industry expert and a trusted voice, which again is just going to benefit your brand even further. You'll also notice in this update, when sharing someone else's content, we see it as a great way to start a relationship with the brands. And we really want to credit and tag that source, either with their handle or the site or the author that originally published the post. This is an awesome strategy because no matter what social media network you're sharing from, mentioning the source actually means that they'll get a notification. You're using their content when like the authors of these articles are seeing that you're actually using it on your pages. It's a much better chance that they'll interact with you, start a relationship with you, and at a later date, it really increases the chance that they'll share some of the content that you've created out to their own networks. So striking this right balance between sharing your original content and your curated content is only going to strengthen your online presence with your followers. And with influencers, this can really help, again, get your own content out as they start to share yours and you start to share theirs, creating these long-lasting relationships within both groups. Finding this content that really screams to be shared is to spend some time on social media yourself. Scroll through Twitter and look at some of the accounts that have huge followings. See the content that they're putting out there and the posts that have a ton of retweets, or even search popular hashtags that seem to be trending. These are great indicators of the type of content that people want to be seeing on social. You don't have to spend a lot of time being really unique in this way. Again, all that information is already out there. People are already showing you through the things they retweet, through all of the different accounts that have thousands of followers on them, and all of these hashtags trending. So use that information to help inform what you guys are sharing from other people's content as well. That insight into your audience and what they care about sharing in the context of your audience makes a lot of sense when building these relationships on social media. Having Edgar send out other people's content also really helps keep a variety in your social feed. And again, that's really what Edgar's kind of core is built on, having these different categories, so different types of updates can go out through the day, creating that robust posting schedule for your followers. So by varying the content you're going to share and making sure it's helpful, your audience also sees that it's not all about you. You show them that you're such a reliable source of information that boosts your own credibility. This versus sharing your own content and someone else's content is going to have to be on an audience by audience basis. But here at Edgar, you can see that we illustrate how we break up our posts, and about 2.5% of the updates we send out to Facebook and Twitter are going to come from other people's content. And we decided on this ratio by experimenting and watching the posts that we put out, then altering the categories on our schedule until we found that perfect mix. So again, it might take some time for you to find that perfect mix, but it's going to be so worth it once you do, just to be able, again, to get this variety out to your followers that really speaks to them and really offers them that value that you're looking for. Sharing other people's content on social media is so beneficial and such an awesome strategy. Let's go into how you can actually do this in your Edgar account. Foremost, you all know we are all about automation here at Edgar. So to make things easier on yourself, you can use something like our RSS feed to actually streamline this process quite a bit. You can also use like a third-party tool like Feedly, Feedly, that will curate this content. It's a kind of like a tool that's a content creator that sorts through all the content, and it's helpful when searching for relevant articles to share out to your community. Our own feeds tab will allow you to put in the URL of a blog from someone, say from our example, like ProBlogger, who puts out a ton of really great content on blogging strategies. You can put that into your Edgar Feeds tab, which is located in that top navigation bar in your account, automatically pull in those posts for you. And this is really super helpful as you can send them to what we call a pending queue here. And you can see from your pending queue, you have the ability then to go in and edit these and approve them or reject them if it's not going to be really relevant for your audience. And add in your own spin, again, add in your own kind of commentary to these, anything that's going to really let you stand out and be shown as an industry expert, and just telling your audience why you're sharing this. Approve these into the library. So this is an awesome way to kind of automate this as you're going along and starting to add other people's content into your mix here. Next, actually going in and creating these great influencer relationships. And this is going to be accomplished again through tagging. So here at Edgar, we did just really make some awesome updates to our tagging feature. The first thing we want to point out here is when you're tagging on Facebook and Twitter, these posts do have to only be connected to those accounts. So when you're tagging on Facebook, make sure that only Facebook pages are checked off in your composer screen here. Same deal with Twitter. If you're tagging a Twitter handle, make sure this post is only checked off to go to Twitter. And that'll really make sure that the appropriate handles are added and sent out to the appropriate networks there. One here on Edgar, specifically for Facebook pages, our tagging feature is only for pages, not for profiles or groups. You'll go ahead and check off the accounts there over on the left that you'd like it to send to. Next, super simple. All you're going to do is put the @ symbol and start typing the name of the page there. If you wait a second, Edgar will automatically go ahead and pop up a list of names that's really relevant and really going to allow you just to pick from it based on the few letters that you typed in. So you don't have to know how to spell it perfectly. Just type those first few letters in. Edgar will pop up this awesome menu for you, and you can select the name that's appropriate. This is what it looks like once you select that name. It'll have the little Facebook symbol next to the page's name, and you'll know that it's been appropriately tagged in the composer screen here. And Edgar will then be able to tag this to that page once it's sent to the network. So going on to Twitter, you can see again when we're adding this, you're going to simply put the @ symbol similar to Facebook when we did that. And you'll just start typing the handle that you'd like to be tagged once this is sent out. Edgar will then again suggest handles that are really similar to what you've typed, and you can go ahead and click on this and then add in the rest of the text after that. So these are, again, are awesome ways, again, to just make sure that you're creating these great relationships with influencers. And it's not only going to get you followers from your page, but it's going to gain you a ton of respect from your own communities, as well as from those influencers. And to get more followers, you just want to make sure that the content you're adding, similar to when you're adding your own content, is going to be really quality. On any social network, the thing to remember is that content is king. If you're sharing good content, it's going to really motivate your followers to not only see you and continue following you, but to get their friends, their colleagues, people they care about getting this information to follow you, or they'll take your post and share it out to them. Same rules apply when you're adding other people's content and when you're tagging that content in Edgar. What matters is going to be the quality of the content, and what matters is going to be really making sure you're adding your own personal spin to it. People want to hear a person talking about a business, not just about business. So making sure that you're really creating this quality content and adding your own spin to it is going to help really increase the amount of posts that go out that are really quality to your following. Is it for our webinar today. Over on the right, again, just go ahead and pop in any follow-up questions you have. And we're happy to answer anything else if you go ahead and email support@meetedgar.com if you do have further questions about how you're going to add these tags into Edgar or how you get other people's content into Edgar in general. For joining our webinar today, guys, and I hope you have a really great start to your week.